So when I put the slide up in class that says feelings, I often get audible groans from my students. And I think that that's because maybe in high school or maybe in elementary school, they had a counselor come in and, talk about how you talk about your feelings. And I feel like it's such a touchy-feely type subject, literally, that people kind of struggle with why, we're in an adult class and adults don't do this kind of stuff. But we are emotional human beings. 80% of our communication is emotional content. We are always experiencing emotions. And it's really important sometimes to express those emotions in a way that is constructive and that honestly can prevent conflict further down the road. Sometimes if you can deal with a smaller emotion more immediately, it's kind of like dealing with a medical problem. It might be better to go get something seen sooner so that you end up with a small fix than waiting until that exacerbates and you need a big fix, right? Better to go get your teeth cleaned on a regular basis than have to have a tooth pulled because it's beyond repair, right? And so I always think that it's important to think about expressing your feelings as preventative maintenance for a relationship. All right. But you have to do it effectively, and you're not going to express every single emotion that you have in a given day. These are going to be the ones that you think could become issues or that are repeated. Those are really good times to express your feelings. All right. So how do you do it? When do you do it? All right. First of all, you should do it when you think that that relationship could be adversely affected, especially if you feel yourself feeling this emotion over and over, or if it persists. Okay. And when you do, you want to try to actually identify where that emotion started, if that makes sense. A lot of times what happens is we bottle. We bottle our emotions and we let them sit and simmer. And the longer we let them sit and simmer, the more the pressure builds until we explode. And the problem with that is that when we often explode, we are really far removed from what we call the triggering event, the thing that caused that emotion in the first place. And when you're far removed from that, you're going to start kitchen sinking. Kitchen sinking is where you start basically recounting all of the things that have upset you. And sometimes people who get really upset will go all the way back to the beginning of their relationship and start like basically laying out a list of a litany of woes with the person. And when you do that, it's that information overload from the listening section. The person doesn't even know what to do. They just know this person is upset. So it's better to actually think about what was the triggering event. All right. So let's say a good friend of yours forgot your birthday. And you maybe rationalized it at the time and said, it's not that big deal. It's not like I'm the center of the universe. Maybe they had something else going on. But it still bothered you. And it just bothered you, and it bothered you, and it bothered you, and it bothered you. And then when someone says, hey, will you chip in? We're going to all go out for my birthday. Would you be willing to chip in to rent a room or to do something? And then you explode, right? And so you really have to kind of track it back to the triggering factor. What actually caused the emotion? And then you have to give it a real word. And that's so hard because we're not real good at this. For example, I often have students come to my office going, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I am freaking out. And it's usually about speeches. And I always say, okay, wait a second. Freaking out is an action. It's a result of an emotion because there's two completely different potentials here. I mean, actually there's a bunch, but maybe the person, and if I get them to talk, a lot of times they'll say, oh, I'm freaking out because I can't find these sources and I'm having a hard time with my outline and it's really frustrating and I'm frustrated because I can't get this stuff to fit. Okay. Frustration is the emotion there, right? And then on the other person, they might say, I'm freaking out because public speaking is really scary and I hate doing it and I freeze up and I'm worried about freezing well, that's fear, right? Completely different emotion. And those also require two completely different sets of help from me as a teacher. So I have to be able to dig through kind of people's reactions to get their actual emotion so that I can give them the right advice. It is often better if you can sit there and do that internal work and go, wait a second. And a lot of times when I do that, when I hear frustration, my first thought is like, okay, why are you frustrated? Because sometimes that frustration can actually be another emotion on top of it. My daughter gets frustrated when she's practicing piano a lot. And I'm like, why do you get frustrated? And I think it's she wants to be perfect all the time. She's got a hardcore perfectionist streak. And she doesn't want to be embarrassed when she makes mistakes in front of her teacher. And so that's often the thing I have to sit there and help her through. And that could be a challenge. So identifying the actual emotion is probably the most important piece of this. Give it an I statement when you state your feelings. Don't try to make it somebody else's problem that you're having an emotional reaction. It could be that they triggered the behavior, but you're still having the reaction, so you have to own it. Hey, when you forgot my birthday last week, it made me really bummed out. It made me really sad because, I don't have a whole lot of family here, and I thought we were going to go do something fun, and you just forgot, and it made me sad. I think that's you're basically taking ownership of that emotion. Okay. Avoid fake feelings and fake apologies. Fake feelings are when you're like, I feel like nobody even does this thing anymore. Like nobody even cares anymore. Well, that's taking that and putting it on somebody else. Instead you say, I feel like I am the only one who really cares about this. And it makes me feel really lonely. That's the emotion. So be careful, especially when you start feeling yourself go, I feel like it's a really good triggering phrase. It's a really good phrase in your brain to go, wait a second, wait. Is that actually how I feel? And sometimes you might say, I feel like to process, and that's totally fine. But whenever you say, I feel like, go, wait. Am I expressing an emotion here? Okay. Fake apologies. My all-time favorite fake apology. I'm sorry if you were offended. Technically, that's not an apology. An apology is, I'm sorry I offended you. All right. And we'll talk, if we were in class and we had a lot of extra time, we could go into, there's a whole discussion on the word offended. And we could have, there's a wonderful discussion we could have about that. But, a lot of times when you apologize, there are 3 parts to an apology. And I actually took this from Brandy Posh, who wrote the book, The Last Lecture. I'm sorry. I was wrong. And then either how can I make it better, or here's what I'm going to do to make it better, some sort of solution. And that is so hard. It is so often hard to say I was wrong. And so you can say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that what I said hurt you. That was wrong of me. I should have picked my words better. Or you could say, I'm sorry what I said hurt you. I didn't realize that was something that was an inappropriate statement and I should have, Or you could say, now I do know, and I won't be doing that in the future. So a really good apology has those 3 parts. And it can be so hard to say I was wrong, and only say you're wrong if you were wrong, obviously. Don't be disingenuous. But when we hurt somebody, we can say, I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry what I said hurt you. And you can say, that wasn't my intent. There is a difference, guys, by intent versus impact. Sometimes what we say, even though we didn't intend it to hurt anyone, actually has an impact on somebody. And we can apologize for that impact. We can say, I am sorry what I said hurt you. That wasn't my intention, but I know that it hurt you anyway. And I'm really sorry about that. I won't use that again, or I won't say that kind of thing again. That is the right way to apologize. So hopefully now you know how to identify your trigger, give it an actual word, take ownership for it, and then apologize when you're getting this feedback from others, or know how to actually express it correctly. All right, see you in the next video.